You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Yay!
What's up?
Yeah, that's right. All
I'm
right,
tweeting.
everybody. He's tweeting. Oh, all right. Phil's tweeting.
Tweeting away.
Hey, thank you for joining us. As you know, Bing is for doing, and we're doing another AFTERBUZZ TV podcast. This is Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 11, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. I'm your host, John Comerford. I'm joined in the studio by Phil Svitek.
I'm
There he
actually
is.
very excited because, when we first started the season, I thought there were going to be only 12 episodes, as
Right.
is typical of AMC for, a season. And it is not the penultimate episode. We
No.
get 2 more.
We get 2 more, exactly. So, and
I'm here too,
oh,
you
sorry, in the
guys.
booth. Sorry, Big Ben
Thank
Bottomley in the
you.
booth.
Big Ben. Yeah,
Say hi, Ben.
I want to thank
Thank you,
Ben
Ben.
for being in the booth
Yes.
because that allows me to be here and partake on the conversation. Of course, Ben will chime
He
in
will
as
chime
well.
in as we, yes, we go. As we
Please
go.
feel free.
A lot happening in this episode, especially towards the end of it. There was really a build-up. I had Dale crusading like crazy for a man's innocence, or should crusading for arguing for his life, I guess is a better way of putting it. And the big meeting that they have, the execution just thwarted, and then of course the big surprise at the end. Especially the last 15 minutes of the show, I was taught. It was interesting. It was fascinating. It was dramatic. It was like, wow, this is what's best about the show is when they do stuff like this.
2 things.
Yeah.
A, I guess a lot of the fans had predicted that Dale was going to die.
Right.
This episode
They,
specifically.
they had heard some inside skinny. I'm guessing.
I guess, or either they're really smart.
Yeah. Well.
I like to think they're smart. And 2, we finally get the meeting
Yes,
that I've been
it's
pitching
finally
for weeks.
the meeting. Exactly. The 10
meeting of the
o'clock.
minds.
The 10 o'clock meeting that Phil's wanted for many weeks now has finally occurred.
And for better or for worse, right or wrong, they finally at least got together and talked
Right.
about what they're going to
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. And it was interesting because had they had these meetings before, it would have been a much different turnout. I should say outcome, because Herschel and his family, big turnaround.
Oh,
From
huge.
people, not gonna kill any walkers. They, now they're ready to just go ahead, kill an innocent person. Innocent in the sense that they haven't
Well,
really done anything wrong yet.
You think that would have happened if they had the meetings beforehand? Like
I do.
obviously the barn thing happened,
Right.
and that was the catalyst.
I do.
for-
I think Herschel even said he used to be Dale confronts him and says, "Hey, you used to be a man of principle." And he goes, "Not anymore." So it's almost and he's abdicated his responsibility. He said, "Look, Dale says this is your farm," and he goes, "Look, let Rick handle it. It's on Rick." So he's even abdicated his position. So yeah, I do think that had they had this conversation earlier, or had this situation happened weeks ago, would have been a different outcome completely. That's what I'm thinking.
Did I cut you off, Ben? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do like the new Herschel character that we have seen arise. I
W-
believe my exact note is Herschel is a baller now.
A baller. Okay.
That's what the young folk
Interesting.
call him.
Yes. I how do you come
That's
to
what
that?
you would call an old white man.
Is that right? Let me write that down. I look in that dictionary there. Baller. I guess I'll find Herschel's picture.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as the world darkens, so do the people.
Yeah. And that's the point of the whole thing is, I mean, we've always been having that conversation, that conflict, that inner conflict between what kind of people are going to be after this has happened. Are you going to have the rule of law? Are you going to have reason? Are you going to have humanity? Or are you going to just be the survival of the fittest?
Let me ask you this. I mean, in terms of you're more educated than I am, but are we just getting a Hobbes and Locke sort of a perspective, or what other perspectives are we seeing in terms of that kind of civilization arising?
Well, right now it's just that those two things. They're really, and that would be fascinating if we get into it more deeply in that regard. That's the stuff I like. I mean,
and Hobbes being, of course, he thinks that by nature we're evil.
Right.
And then Locke thinking by nature we're inherently good.
Right. And, arguments
and these are philosophers, by the way, if you guys
for those of you who don't know. And thank you for that Cliff Notes version. But the arguments can be made easily on either side. They always are. They always have been. They always probably will be. And I'm sure that the people out there have their own opinions about that. But that's what makes the show fascinating. Is I think there's enough for both. That's what keeps people interested, especially in that conflict. Because I love the fact that Dale that had nobody on his side. He went everywhere, trying to get somebody to think about it and to be reasonable about it, and not to go off and just kill somebody because they were afraid. I mean, he made some really good arguments. How are we any better than the people we're afraid of?
Yeah.
If we go off and do this, he hasn't even done anything wrong. We're going to kill him on the possibility that he might do something that could hurt us. That he might do something.
Well, that's the Minority Report effect. But
exactly.
The thing that was central for me was his conversation with Andrea, and she says, you used to be a civil rights lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
And she says, I used to be.
Right.
And of course, she, I forget the quote he says after that, but the point being, okay, just because you went through this obviously catastrophic event,
right?
Now, like the phoenix out of the ashes, you're supposed to create this new civilization, and so if you're not willing to go back to that, then how are you supposed to regain what you once had if you don't even believe in it?
Yeah, I know, and
never going to happen.
Yeah, and her quote, he says, what is it? That's what a civil society does, and she says, "Who says we're civilized?"
Yeah, we're not civil anymore.
Yeah, so and in her mind, they are not civilized, or at least that's how she argues it at the beginning of the episode. And again, some of the stuff they've done isn't civilized, and you can argue that in this world, we shouldn't be civilized if we're dealing with this outside influence. But it's Dale the one is really asking of everybody to look deeper and what kind of look, if we're here and we're alive, what kind of life are we going to live? That's what I think is much more interesting, because it's one thing just to survive. Mm-hmm. It's another thing that, okay, that's like the base level. You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Just the base things. But what are you going to be? I mean, beyond that, what kind of society are you going to create?
And as you say that, they're always kind of writing that thing where obviously the needs are you need shelter, food, water, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yet, then after that, we're kind of parlaying into the once you have those needs met, which obviously on the farm for the most part they do, then you start to get more cerebral.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're like, wait, how do I now spend my free time and things like that? Then that becomes an issue.
Right. And then there's the whole idea of free choice, because beyond being animals, the thing that separates humans is that there's free will. There's choice involved, and you can choose to exist however you want to. Animals don't do that. They just are, and they don't have choice. So here we are. We can either be animals and animalistic and be zombie-like, who zombies don't have any choice either. So what separates us from any other creature? Yeah. If we aren't choosing what path to lay forward, we aren't choosing what society we're going to create.
Opposable thumbs.
Thank you. Prehensile tails. Thank you very much. So anyway, that's the argument in a nutshell for Dale. And I think he makes a great argument, and I'm glad they had nobody going with him.
Which, by the way, I mean, you're much more into politics than I am, but I like the idea of that they're now in a microcosm version starting to see like lobbying and things like that. And then you have obviously the unanimous vote, which, the most popular vote isn't always necessarily the right vote.
Right, exactly. And that's why the Constitution is great, because it's about the tyranny of against the few by the many.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, and I like the way you see in this. Alliances being made. Andrea's talking to Dale and said, "Look, I got your back on this," and and then Dale, when he goes to Shane later, and says, "All right, come, I want to talk to you man to man." And so they have their little talk, and Shane says, "Oh, look, if you can convince everybody not to kill this guy, fine. I'll just back off." Mm-hmm. He goes, "But I think you're wrong." Which is, again, I thought that was an odd thing. Shane, who's this guy who's he's ready to kill. He thinks this guy should get rid of him, and all of a sudden he backs off from it. I was like, "What the hell?"
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what we talked about last episode is, how do we summarize it? Basically, whatever's good for in order to make everyone survive, that's what I'm going to go off of. And then, so obviously he stepped down to instead of being the leader, because he knew that Rick how do we summarize it? We had a guy. I forget. I really wish I memorized what we said.
Well,
But it was you know, we were debating what he was thinking in the car, and he saw that the lone zombie.
yeah. Well, he said it a few times, which is survival is the number one thing.
Yeah.
Survival is the number one thing, and me being out there alone doesn't help me survive.
Yeah.
So he's willing to take a back seat on certain things because ultimately, if my survival and the survival of these people are most important, that means
He's got to back down.
there you
on
go.
some things he
Because
doesn't
I
do.
can't survive out there on my own. He's better. There's comfort in numbers. There's safety in numbers. All that kind of stuff.
So I think
he
because
might have. Sorry, he might have seen it as a battle, just not worth fighting.
Exactly. That's what I think it was.
yeah. So I agree. Thanks to that newfound revelation of his
Yes.
in the last episode.
Yeah, but I still find those moments that they're giving Shane interesting. It makes him a much more layered character because before, and oftentimes I've even said this, I don't like when they have him such a hardliner on one thing. He just makes him a one-note character, and I don't like that. I like layered characters. I like ones that are more conflicted about certain things. And when they give him moments where it's not just such a hardline thing, I go, there you go, thank you for having a more rounded, fleshed out character. So.
Well, again, it's almost, you know, like, how'd you feel about this? And then in the case of Shane, it's always kind of been the Carl effect, which, you know, I like how Carl has a big storyline in this episode.
Yeah.
But it's always like, you know, I would do this, and then, but what if it was Carl? And
Yeah.
that always seems to be the exception for Shane,
Right.
you know, in terms of his decision making.
Yeah,
and
and
so
you
that's
see-
the hypocrite effect I like.
Yeah, and you actually saw that happening later in the show, which we'll get to in a second, when you know, with Rick and how he deals with that issue as well.
Yeah.
It's his own kid. So, but I'm gonna let's finish up the meeting real quick. So the meeting happens, and finally, and we get and it was so interesting that so many people just backed down. A lot of people just did not want to make the decision, didn't want to be responsible for it, didn't like where it how that made them feel, what it made them think of themselves. I mean, Carol even said, "Look, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to make this decision. You guys, or you figure it out, and you know, just do it."
Well, I mean, yeah,
And I just liked it because it represents a lot of society. They don't
Right.
want to make those decisions. Just go, leave me alone.
like I'm thinking, like, if you had to choose whether or not a man lives or dies, and if it's probably better that he
Yeah.
dies, like, what do you do?
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
then you're pretty much killing this person.
exactly. Or you have to,
It's-
you
it's
ha-
kind of a
or
rough-
you take responsibility for that life and you go, okay, we're not going to kill him, but
And then
we have to keep
you-
ourselves protected as well. So what are we going to do?
Right.
I mean, that's
And
what
then-
we do as a society all the time. We can't leave these people on the streets because they hurt other people. So we have to take responsibility for them, incarcerate them, all that kind of stuff, and deal with that issue. But that takes a heavy responsibility. That's a heavy burden to bear, which is why it was much. You know, they just want to kill him and get on with it.
Yes.
And a lot of them I don't want to think about it. I don't tell me. Just do it
Just
because
do
I don't
it.
want to know. I don't want to hassle. I don't want the hassle.
One less
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you look at society, I mean, there is that faction. They don't want to know. They don't want to see the sausage being made. They just want it done.
Just want the delicious
Exactly.
cow intestine.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, you know, even like, you know, if you take zombie movies as a type of genre, you see it in many mafia movies where the mob boss is like, all right, just don't involve me.
Exactly. I don't want to know about, you know, take care of it. And what the other thing that I thought was fascinating is Glenn, who I thought for sure would be with Dale, does not go with Dale.
Not with Dale.
And I'm wondering how much of Herschel's passing the watch to him, the heirloom watch that he got from Herschel's grandfather or whatever, he gives it to Glenn as just some token to say, look, you know, my Maggie likes you, and you know, you're okay with me. Basically, is what it was saying. So it was a nice little gesture. I don't know how much it had to do in the bigger
Yeah.
scheme, but I'm just wondering if it had anything to do with her Glenn's decision.
I didn't really think too hard about that, but
Yeah.
well, I don't think hard about anything, but
There's an AfterBuzz exclusive.
There you go. Thanks,
but
man. You're perfect for this.
yeah, it seemed like I mean, if you wanted to connect it, maybe he realized, I don't know, like the same thing that Maggie loves him and he has to take care of
Well,
himself.
yeah,
but
that's
just
that's
since
exactly my
Herschel
point.
Accepts it like it's opposite the reaction he had last time.
I know but that's my point, is that so affected Glenn that by Maggie saying she loved him, that it freaked him out when he was out with Rick and Herschel. That I was just wondering, okay, if that freaked him out like that, what would this thing do? I mean, an old man passing down this thing that's been in his family for generations, giving it to you, and he's known you what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the in the real scheme of things.
Which, by the way, I mean, if you go back to that episode where they are in the bar together, just symbolically, you look at it as, okay, so it's Rick, Herschel, and him.
Yeah.
And before, it always used to be Dale and Glenn.
Right.
So visually, that separation was happening. You know, as I look back on it. Now,
They did too. Yeah, and they never actually brought them back together because before they were, it was almost like protege mentor kind of thing going on.
It was. I mean, they talked about about women are crazy and
all
don't say that in front of
stuff.
the women.
Exactly. So there was that going on. Anyway, that was interesting. And then of course the only person that sides with Dale in the meeting is Andrea, whom earlier in the show.
Yeah.
So that was a big turnaround for her too.
Yeah.
She was usually with him, and then she sided with Shane.
Yeah, and the one I thought was interesting, they didn't show any turn. There was nothing that anybody said that convinced her, or she just
she decided
at some
on her
point
own.
decided on her own.
Well, I mean, I don't think necessarily anything had to be said, but do you think she just thought, again, it was the first time that we found out she was a civil rights lawyer, which, if you come to think of it, we don't really know what any of these people
we don't
do
know any of
except
their backstories.
for Shane and Rick. But, she could have thought about that and was like, you know what, Dale was right. And so we don't necessarily have to see it on screen, the transformation.
No, we don't. Once it was laid in that she was a civil rights attorney, you can see, you know that's
you
probably...
interpolate.
Yeah, there's, obviously she's going to start thinking about it once you start posing those questions. It's really easy not to think about those things. And it makes the decision later to be easy, but... I don't think she was. I thought that was great that they did that because then it did show you that there was something behind and formulating that thought for her.
And again, in terms of, I like how it came out because it wasn't just it was a great bit of X-Pos, but it was also X-Pos used as ammunition.
Exactly, it was terrific. Wonderful. It's like, whoa, what? She's a civil rights? I didn't have a clue. That she was, but it was, they laid it in nice and they were quick about it, and that was great. So, and then it came back to actually have some sort of resolution, which I thought was great. So, and I love Dale too, just in the sense that I like that they made him stand on his principle and then say, "Look, I won't be a party to it." I just thought that at least that created dramatic tension and conflict in this thing, and that for me that was they did that well. I liked that. So, I really wanted Lori or somebody to stand up, but everybody just sitting down. Would somebody just add some more drama and conflict to this? But I'm glad that they made Dale do it. So, and then of course his parting words as Dale's leaving is he turns to Daryl and says, "You're right, this group is broke." There you go. So,
then,
Dies.
what's that?
And then he dies.
Well, yes, but let's get to that later. Go ahead.
I was gonna touch upon the death.
Go.
If you don't mind. In terms of the group and symbolism behind that, now that he's always been the voice of reason, and Herschel used to kind of be that,
right?
But now obviously Herschel's flipped, for lack of a better word. With Dale dead, is the group now just?
No, because nature abhors a vacuum. There's going to be somebody that's going to, especially in the sense of the way he died, he won't become a martyr, I don't think. But I think because of what he stood for and because of when he died, they're always going to be thinking, what would Dale have done? In WWDD, you know what I mean? What would Dale do? Yeah, exactly. Because it's so raw and that's like, geez, this guy, and he probably was right. Mm-hmm. Expediency is great because if we can just pop this guy in the head, all our troubles are over. But you have no idea the troubles you are going to reap because of that decision. Mm-hmm. So I think that's always going to be in their head now, going,
Dale was old and wise.
Yeah.
And he should have been listened to because he was old and wise.
So
let that be listened to you, Ben.
Okay. But now, since we're there at the death, let's talk further about it because it really comes to dovetail nicely with Carl's story. Because Carl really had a big impact in today's particular episode.
Which I liked. He was, many times he's kind of... He doesn't have a big role.
No,
he's more of the catalyst versus having kind of action for stuff.
And then the father figures between Rick and Shane and how all that kind of stuff. So.
He reminds me too much of like Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter girl who's just there to push the story along. But I like that he's finally doing something.
Yeah, and it was interesting too because right off the bat, with Carol, something's up with it. You know, there's really a lot going on in this kid's head. Unfortunately, the guy's just messed up, conflicted like crazy because Carol's just being nice to him, just saying, "Hey, love Sophia, well, she's in a better place," and he just rolls off
she's not.
No, you're an idiot. Heaven's just another lie. I mean, he just goes, just rails on her. Just dives right in.
Carl is an atheist.
He's an atheist, yeah. So, but who knows what kind of effect, you know?
I think he's more of a nihilist.
Okay, well, we'll take that. But who, you know, what kind of effect living?
Sorry.
What were you saying?
We want the money, Lebowski. Give us the money.
Oh,
So,
Ben and his references.
Yes, he is. So, yeah, who knows what kind of effect that living in this kind of world or what it would do to a kid like that. So here we're getting to see some of that come to head.
Which, by the way, he's still uneducated too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he hasn't been like, you know, if you think about it, his education stopped at how old is he? 10 years old.
I don't know how old he is. Does anybody have a clue? Something like that.
I mean, I'm guessing 12 tops.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think he's younger than that.
So
All right, 10.
yeah, whatever. So he's a kid. So yeah, his education has stopped, and so all he's now it's just this. And how do you know? There's no book for this. There's no playbook. There's nobody. You know, their parents. What?
I wish they really, you know, had like the references to zombie movies and things like that, because then that would be the perfect educational guide for the audience and us.
And he should be the one that would say it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's a kid. He would know all of them.
Yeah.
But no, they're not using him. But that's okay. But so he hauls off and, you know, talks to Carol like that. And then Carol gets all pissed off and says, you got to talk to your boy, and tells Rick and Lori that what happened. And so then they have this nice little thing with Rick and Carl. And it tells him to apologize. Stop thinking. Apologize. No, he said stop talking, start thinking, which is interesting. You know, he's obviously, well, in my mind, he's talking to himself because that's what he hasn't been doing is thinking, which is what, you know, Dale does and what, you know, thinking men do. So but he's talking to his kid when he says it because his kid was doing things without thinking. And I think that's the thing that played in later.
Did he have the hat on?
Yeah,
Yes,
the whole
he
episode.
He never took it off.
Yeah, never took it off.
So, I mean, it's ironic because obviously that's supposed to be that he's now a man finally, and
Or, you know,
he's
no.
so not a man.
No,
not
well,
yet.
Yeah, but he's still a kid. So, but then of course, and then he takes off and finds steals Daryl's pistol out of his bike,
which
had
I noticed it had an SS
on the tank. Yeah, so
Daryl's
I didn't know this. I never had seen the bike before, so I thought it was just his brother. But no, his bike is in the trunk on the gas tank of his bike. There's an SS. It's like, oh, okay, great, nice, lovely.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, exactly. So he steals the gun, of course, and then he finds a walker, and then you know, as he's going through the woods, and the walker's stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
When I thought, oh, this is good. I thought he was just gonna take target practice. I thought that, you know, when he came out there with a gun, I thought he was just gonna pop him, you know, just practice and stuff like that.
It was gonna be Carl's first kill.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought so
Then it
too.
got weird.
It did get weird. It was like, what are you doing? Because the first time he hung, you know, when he comes along and he figures out that the walker's stuck in the mud, and then there's this long look and stuff, right? You know, this long thing that it's like nothing happens, but there's this really long shot. Yeah, it throws rocks at him, but then right before commercial, we do this really long shot. Like I go, what the hell was that about? What?
Yeah.
Well, right before the commercial, it's like, what the?
And
what?
then they pick up on it later.
Yeah, they didn't come back to it at the end of the commercial. They went to other stories and then finally came back to it, I don't know, 8-10 minutes later.
Yeah.
And the kid's still, I mean, the walker's still stuck in the mud and he's still there.
It was so.
It
Well,
just
wait,
was
what word
silly.
would you like?
Weird.
Intrigue? You know, like I mean, this is the first time that he's kind of
Been
really
that close to a walker.
Yeah, really interacting
Yeah.
with someone where his life
Yeah.
isn't in danger.
Well, yeah, it wasn't in danger, yet intrigued, but it was just the strangest choice.
Yeah, it was just a really weird
Just
scene.
odd, you know. It's just like, what? I had
then, of
no idea what
course-
they're going for there, and it just was.
It breaks free, of course, and
And it took me out of the show. I was like, what the hell was that? I actually turned and said, what the hell was that?
I didn't.
And then it was just, and then not to come back to it at the end of the commercial. It's like, you know, it was almost like you were, you expected to come right back there because they were making some big, huge, dramatic thing, and then they don't come back to it. It was just odd. And but when we do finally get back to it, he's starting to pull the gun out.
He breaks free.
Yeah,
of course.
and
Carl drops the gun, of course.
Carl, yeah, exactly.
Doesn't pick it up.
No,
of course.
no. And it's like, what are you? I mean, you know, and this is where I think it's crazy too, because a kid like that would have seen many movies and he would know, don't go that, don't get that close.
Don't get that close.
Exactly.
Yes. And he's seen what they've done to
Yeah.
his group members.
It's
Why
like,
not like
come on.
kill it while you
Yeah.
can?
I mean, I just that's the part I have a hard time with. It's like, why? No, who would do that?
Carl.
No, but
That makes no sense.
But you think as a kid you know better. It's almost like you hear it so many people like you know. But we're different. We won't make that mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though you're going to take the same action. Like, well, no, you're really not going to beat the odds on that one.
I don't know about that. All I know is I'm standing there going, you have a gun. The gun's made to be used from a few feet away.
But it would be the first time. It would he was great at shooting practice, right?
Who was?
Carl.
When?
When they
were,
first gave him a
doing
gun.
I don't remember, but
they were
okay,
doing,
I believe
like,
you.
Gun training. He
Okay.
was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, he was
all
really
right.
good. But this would be the first time that he shot one.
Yeah, but if
Or
he was
shot
that great,
anything for that
But if he
matter.
was that great at shooting, what's the point of sneaking up? Getting closer.
It was a really weird scene. It really took me.
Well,
out.
what I'm
And
saying is that again, although it's easy, you know, he mentally, I don't know, he's going through that thing of like, yeah, it's one thing to do target practice because that's a
Right.
target.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing of this zombie who was once like
no, but
it doesn't make sense 'cause-
you don't feel that
No,
because
that's not what it's-
he's
yeah.
throwing rocks at the thing and he's taunting it. He's making fun of it.
Yeah.
and then
yeah, but there's a difference between killing something and taunting it. Like you
But
always.
it's a walk. There's
But
no
it's a child's
killing
curiosity.
involved.
Like it's the same thing. Like with a frog. Yeah, you're like kind of torturing it, but you don't want to kill it. Like it's the sadistic
Okay,
kind of
here's the
fun
thing.
that you have as a child.
This is where I think that all falls apart. You got a gun.
you brought
you-
a gun with you.
If you're already good at shooting practice, you start and you try to shoot the thing, and if you can't
we
shoot it,
learned-
then you might move forward because I'm too far away.
and we
not
not
go. Oh, let me see how close I can get.
All right,
It's not like he has a knife.
We also learned.
I'll
in this
heed to your
episode
points.
That this kid is messed up in the head. Like seriously, I think he's got serious problems.
I mean,
Well,
what kid wouldn't? But
Exactly. So anyway, so he of course he drops the gun, and as
And
Ben already said, he sneaks away, but he leaves the gun.
And then, of course, the same walker kills Daryl.
Yeah, and that's the same
Or
walker that
Dale,
ends up killing
not
Daryl.
Daryl.
So, no, I'm sorry, Dale. So, you know, and of course, you know, whether or not he was responsible for it is immaterial because Carl's gonna feel like, oh, geez, if I had only killed that walker, Dale would be alive today. So he's gonna get that guilty, which is great from character-wise and great, wonderful stuff to deal with, because now that kid's gonna be messed up like crazy. If he wasn't messed up before, he's messed up now.
But he was.
Yes, he was.
yeah.
So, and who was it? Didn't you have a comment to say about one of the characters in this particular episode that you really thought he did a great job?
Did I?
Yes.
That might have been about Herschel.
No,
Or
no.
Do you know who it is? and
I
you're
do
trying to
know
get
who it
me
is.
to
You
remember?
wanted to say it. I'm giving you the opportunity to say it. You
Oh God.
think of all the characters that really did an amazing job this episode.
Is it Carl?
No,
I'm seriously drawing a blank.
T-Dog.
Oh yes. T-Dog was awesome tonight.
Oh, Ben. What do we do with Ben?
I don't know.
He loves the show, but he
This
is.
is what I don't get. T-Dog's a great character. Why they just had him stand there. Didn't give him
He had
anything
one
to say.
line. He had one line.
What did he say?
What do we do with the body?
Oh. It's like, what? How come this guy doesn't have anything to say?
I mean, if you really think about it, what is T-Dog's perspective on like what
We
would
don't
it
know
be?
because he
But
has
that's
no
what I'm
line.
saying.
What function would he serve?
I don't know. Well, I don't know where he stands, what his history is, what his world. I know nothing, and I'm going. What better time? You finally got everybody there. You could have forwarded this guy's story, viewpoint, everything by just giving him something to say that had pertinence to whether or not to kill the guy. And they just chose not to.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Why even have him in the room then? And it was just an odd choice.
Yeah,
Odd choice.
it was.
So
agree.
anyway, all right. So let's move on. We gotta. Okay, you want to bring up the Randall thing?
Topics. Randall.
Yeah.
Okay, Randall's the prisoner.
Yeah.
He had a fence through his leg in episode
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Was it? I think it was 9.
9.
I think it was 9. It was 9.
It was
Okay.
called Trigger Finger.
Episode 10 and 11. He's already walking and running around, and he's got. They were saying they were gonna have to cut his leg off,
Yeah.
and I don't think they.
Because there's gonna
well,
be
they
permanent
might
muscle
have-
damage.
Yeah, they might have performed some operation, but
Yeah.
it took him about a day, and then like I didn't point it out last week because I guess I didn't realize it.
Uh-huh.
But he was running around at that schoolyard or jail or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And
they were walking him to the barn and everything. He didn't really. There was
yeah,
nothing.
he was fine.
Yeah, they kind of forgot that part.
Climbed up on the chair.
Yeah, they kind of forgot that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
So that kind of.
I don't even think
ruined.
his pants were bloody.
No. They weren't.
Well, I try to, for my own sake, I try not to read too much into that stuff, only because I, as a filmmaker, if I was making a movie and had no way out of it or like whatever, I just.
But they had a way out of it. They had a great way out of it. Keep the guy wounded.
Yeah.
How hard would that have been?
A pretty big moment.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, he yanked his leg off what do we call that?
A fence.
A picket.
A
picket.
Spike pointy.
Yeah.
Thing.
I mean, and that the reason why I'm pointing it out is they could have used that in the argument. Look, he's not going anywhere. The guy's lame.
Yeah.
I mean that would have made sense.
Then
that would have been a great reason. That would have been a great argument to make if they had kept
keep him alive.
Yeah, exactly. If they had kept that reality alive and they just let it go.
But I think the whole point was that they didn't want to that they wanted all the more means to not keep him alive because they wanted to show that potential threat.
No, some of them did. But the argument to not kill him would be, look, you've got nothing to fear from this guy. He's hobbled, he's lame, he can't move around.
It would be
he's not going to run away.
It would be a much harder decision.
It would have been exactly. It would have been a much harder decision.
And it wasn't like, I mean, it's not like, okay, I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't know how I'm gonna word it, but it's not that. I said it again. It was like an obvious mistake by the writers here. Like they could have used it.
They could have used it, is my point.
To
yeah,
make him,
and that
I could see it both ways.
But I mean, why would you not? I mean, you made a point of doing it, and then you just forget all about it in the next episode, and then you don't even get to use it when it becomes time where you could really, like you were saying, the whole thing about her being a civil rights attorney, they used it for a specific purpose, and it was very successful. Here, this thing could have been great. It would have you would have had people going, gosh, maybe we shouldn't kill the guy, and then you would have much more drama and conflict there because some people really go, no, we shouldn't kill the guy. No, we have to kill him, and that would have. I just thought it would have been better because it was too easy to go. Okay, we only have one, maybe two people saying so. All right, let's just go kill him. I still think they should have made. I still love the idea. I love that they made the choice to go ahead and kill him. I think that's great. I just think they should have had a better argument, and they had the opportunity to do so, and they didn't. But anyway, okay, so let's get to the fact that Rick decides, no, I'm going to do this, even though he's conflicted about the whole thing. He brings him, brings Randall back. No, I'm going to be the one that has to kill him because it has to be me. I'm the one that brought him back here. They have the big meeting. It's still, they've still decided they're going to kill him even after the big meeting. They take him to the barn. I love that it's Daryl and Shane and Rick taking him to the barn. I always think the blindfold is strange. Not just in this, but why? What's with the blindfold? Like. So the guy doesn't see it coming?
I don't know.
I've never understood that. Anyway, so
that scene just reminded me. I don't know why. It reminded me of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Because there were three guys.
Probably. I don't know. I think
the lighting in it was very similar.
The KKK stuff. And
right. And it was kind of the barn and the whole thing. Yeah. So
I mean, to your point about the blindfold, I mean, it's it's a prevalent thing in most like medical things. Even like if you're getting a shot, they tell you to close your eyes so you don't see it. And then, because the needle doesn't hurt as much, in the end.
Yeah.
It's just the anticipation of it. And so if you're anticipating this bullet, which is going to kill you, might as well just not see it coming.
Oh, I just never, whatever. So, okay. So
we'll try it out with you.
Exactly. So at the moment of the choice, when he's about to shoot the kid, shoot Randall, Carl comes in and says, do it, Dad. Do it. Eggs him on and stuff like. He couldn't even kill a walker. Now he's telling his dad to do it, and of course Rick can't. So and I'm going, what? Now you can't? What was going through his head? I don't want to be a killer in front of my son, or you just don't want my son to see this happen?
He might have been listening to Dale's point.
Or was it
send this message to your son?
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Or did he just did at some point he just came back to reason and went, I can't do this in front of my kid? Or was it because his kid was egging him on that he realized, geez, is my kid that far gone?
That's what Dale was saying. Yeah, like, your kid is going to be screwed up if you do this.
So anyway, speaking more to your point, that was great that they used that.
Yeah,
so that's a wonderful thing to use there. So and then
Carl the Catalyst. Yeah.
So you can't do it. Then he goes back to tell everybody. we're gonna keep him in custody for a while longer. He keeps prolonging this.
Yeah.
So we get to. So not only are we staying on the farm, we're gonna keep this guy around.
Yeah.
Which I mean, what I hate is that it's indecision. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like, here we're just gonna do this. Like, you know what I mean? This is what's
Right.
going to happen. It's more like prolonging whatever they do ultimately want to decide. And I that's what I ultimately hate about any type of society or whatever you want
Right.
to call it. You're in a transition. It's never gonna end well.
Right. Well, I think that's the larger point is that they're trying to make, and the next point we'd like to discuss is this indecision the reason why everybody thinks, not everybody, but a lot of people think Rick is not strong enough to be the leader. He's not decisive. You know, let's face it, in our country, we love the decisive leaders. You know, even if they're wrong, they believe it.
Well, I think it's definitely kind of a sports mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because for better or for worse, like if you go into whatever indecisive, you're gonna
Yeah.
get hurt. That's
Yeah.
the kind of analogy in sports.
Right.
And so, in this sense, like if there whatever indecisiveness there is,
Yeah.
you're gonna get hurt in this society. Someone's gonna get, in the case of this, Dale's gonna get killed or like whatever, right? And so I think you're absolutely right. I mean, for better or for worse, just make a decision and fall on that sword,
Right.
later on.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because once the decision, I didn't agree with the decision, but once it was made, just get to business.
Yeah.
Because I just think that's the way you got to do it.
I agree.
What do you think, Ben?
I concur
Okay.
with all of you.
I think we should. I know we're running a little bit late. We should get to
Let's
our
do it.
commercial.
Ben.
Then Ben's got
No
some
one-
news and gossip and
Yeah,
stuff.
Ben, if you would, please
No one
take us to
has-
our first break.
No one has stray thoughts. Okay.
Straight.
Straight thoughts. Hey guys, obviously, we may not have talked about everything, so
Yeah.
feel free to tweet at AfterBuzz TV, write us, via email, and by the way, please comment on iTunes and rate us. That stuff really goes far in terms of promotion in the iTunes world, more so than the number of downloads, ironically. And so, we provide this great content for you guys for free. And the only thing, that we truly ask of you and request of you is to do that stuff because, again, it really helps us. It keeps us going. We'll never ask you for money, but we will ask for this. And, of course, tell your friends. So, Ben, hit the commercial.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
And we're back.
There we go.
AfterBuzz TV News.
What do you got, Ben?
So there is an article on digitalspy.com.
Ooh, and?
It's not really that surprising. but
Okay.
Robert Kirkman went out and
Uh-huh.
talked about his decision to kill off a character.
Right, yeah, what'd he say?
He said it was very, let me find an exact quote. The decision to deviate from the plot of the comic books was not taken lightly. And he says, I have talked many times about how much I like the difference between the comics and the show. There are going to be big plot lines that we may not necessarily get to, like the romance between Dale and Andrea. If you, he pretty much goes on to say, yes, we killed Dale, deal with it. It's going to affect the show. If you want the other story, go read the books.
Got it.
Yep. And the only other bit of news is not completely, it's mostly unrelated to The Walking Dead, but it is on the same network, that is AMC. Bryan Cranston tweeted today, a few weeks before cameras roll on season 5 of Breaking Bad.
All right.
I can't wait. I love doing this show and will miss it when it's time to say goodbye. Airs in July. So there's
Okay, so that'll be coming up this summer.
narrowed down officially.
Wait, they just started shooting?
A few
going
weeks.
to.
In a
Oh,
few
okay.
weeks.
Because I was going to say they were
AMC
shooting.
AMC's been saying it's going to air in the third quarter of 2012, but Bryan Cranston
He's
just
saying July.
narrowed it down for
Okay.
us.
So we'll see about that.
So thank you, Bryan and Robert.
All right, prediction.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I predict we're going to thin out the group a little bit more.
Yeah, you think
Someone's
there's going to be
gonna
more
die.
deaths?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Do you have any clue on whom? Any prediction?
Finale's
on
going to
whom?
be Shane.
No, really? You think they're going to kill off Shane?
Oh, they got to.
Why?
Well, that's where they've been headed.
No, they're not going to kill off Shane. Who else? Who's going to go up against Rick then? What's going to be the big deal?
No, well, after that, we'll ride off into the sunset and we'll find another group to contend with.
Yeah? Well, I predict with the departure of Dale, we're going to have somebody else step up to be the conscience of the group, and I'm hoping it's Glenn.
You know,
You don't think it could be Rick?
I think it could be Rick, but that's an obvious choice, and you know you would expect that, and I would just hope that this is a way for Glenn to.
By the way, we've
step
probably
up.
spent more time with Glenn this season than we have with Rick, screen-wise,
We might, yeah, we might.
which is weird.
Except for the last 2 episodes, yeah, because last
Okay.
episode was all Rick,
Okay.
so pretty much.
I'd be interested in seeing the numbers.
Yeah, that would be interesting. So.
Ben, thoughts?
I hope at least that they're gonna not kill Randall, and then he's going to actually prove to be a threat and get the 30 dudes to come back and drive them off the stupid farm.
Which, by the way, we didn't touch upon this, but
Right.
you know, with him egging on Carl with the promise and things like that,
Right.
it shows the fact that he probably is going to come back.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
No, say it again. Who egging on?
Randall was saying, "We got supplies, we've got guys. Just
Oh,
help
yeah,
me out of
gotcha.
here, and we'll help you."
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, he does have that intention to bring him back to the farm. So
Unless he was just saying that because he was saying whatever he could to get him to stop torturing him.
yeah, I'm sure, but I think deep down he does have that intention.
So
You want to take us out of here, Ben?
That's it. We done.
We done. Just like they say.
That's right.
We done it.
That's right. Because Bing is for doing, and we done it.
That's right.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. On behalf of Ben Bottomley in the booth, Phil Svitek, over here,
And
my
you
co-host.
guys rating us on iTunes.
That's right. Give us a rate. Give us a what? Was it a thumbs up, like us, whatever you do?
It's
rate
in terms
and
of
comment.
stars.
Okay,
So,
give us some stars.
You know, you don't have to give us 5 stars, but 4.5 might be
Five's
nice.
good. Give us 5. What the
you
hell?
could do 5.
You got extra stars lying around. Give them to us.
And speaking of stars, our own Maria Menounos will be on Dancing with the Stars starting March 19th.
Bam!
So please, I know there's a huge crossover of fans from The Walking Dead to ABC's
Yeah,
Dancing with the
exactly.
Stars.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
My
in order
2
to keep this
favorite shows.
network going, please, when the time comes, vote for Maria. Longer she stays on the show, heck, the longer we stay on air.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much again. We good?
That's
We
good.
Done?
That's
We're
it.
done? We are out. Ben.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
I cut Phil off.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.